These dudes are underrated where we have 5 guys. 5 players that I think are underrated for reasons you may not have considered, because we know about the underrated stars, right? The Jose Ramirez's, Christian Walker, right? These guys are actually like really, really good. And we can't squeeze their name in between Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. I get that. These are probably the tier below, guys who are like freaking doing it and not getting any attention at all. None. So let's kick this thing off. Who do we believe? We're gonna get into first. Let's pull that up, make it a little bigger for you. Let's let the chat see you. This is going deep. This is the I'm gonna call it the underrated team. Oh, David's already on it. Wow, I don't even think about that. This is crazy. Okay. Number 1 on my list of the underrated team. We only got 5, by the way. This isn't a full team, so I guess it doesn't really. Anyway, Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober. I just realized something. I cannot see this, so I need to be able to see this. There we go. Bailey Ober is one of the more underrated starting pitchers in the major leagues, in my opinion. I'm going to bring this even bigger. All right, so I can see it. And this is why. In the last 2 years, or last 3 years, he's been overshadowed by Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, who was there, and Joe Ryan, basically. So he's the number 3 on a team that has had pretty good starting pitchers. Not stars, but pretty good starting pitcher. And the thing about Bailey is he's 6'9", first of all, so he's a big dude. But his velo's not great. He averaged 91.7 on his fastball last year. He's got kind of the Chris Young, yes, that the president of baseball operations for the Texas Rangers, who I'm talking about, and he's got this like visible high fastball thing going. But what he does really well is his off-speed pitches. But let's talk about some stats that he actually does. Let's talk about some of the stats he has that make him one of the more underrated guys, and some stuff that I was able to find. First things first, he's got a whip of 1.03 amongst pitchers that threw 50 plus starts in the last 3 years combined. So I let people get hurt a little bit, but guys who threw a lot, Bailey Ober is 6th among all of those pitchers in whip. Now whip is walks plus hits plus innings pitch. The 1 per inning is very good for relievers and starters, for everybody. It's very good. That means you don't have that many base runners. That means you're less likely to give up runs if there's not a ton of homers. His batting average against over those 3 years is .220, good for 18th of the same qualified pitchers, 50 starts. 18th is one spot among Chris Sale over the same period of time. He is the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. Bailey Ober, better whip or better batting average against than Chris Sale over those 3 years, which is crazy. Though the fastball is below average, the combo of an elite changeup and a good slider combined for a plus 21 run value, according to Baseball Savant, 16 of which came from just the changeup itself. Good for the 3rd best run value of any changeup in 2024. He had the 3rd best changeup in the league behind Tyler Anderson. Yeah, you know about his. And Christopher Sanchez. Oh, yeah, you know about his. Those are 2 very good changeups, and Bailey Ober's got one that's just as good. And nobody talks about it at all. He's got a great change. It's a little seam shifter. He's got a bunch of run, 17 inches on average of arm side run. The guy's nasty, and I think he should get more flowers. Big, beautiful bouquets of flowers. He also threw 180 innings. That's a workhorse. His innings have gone up. Yes, the ERI climbed a little bit, but the whip has gone down. The hits allowed, 136 hits and 178 innings. That's elite. That's elite. And sub 700 OPS every year. Bailey Ober, give him the love that he deserves. Give him a little salute, okay? Next up, Dedniel Nunez of the New York Mets, Smaller sample size, but I don't think enough can be said about this gentleman and what he meant to the Mets on their run to the NLCS last year. Reason he's underrated means he was 27 when he made his debut. Either 27 or 28, older guy for being a rookie. One, he got lost in that shuffle of guys you've heard of. I know he had a better year than like Mayton and Stanek and those guys, but you knew them. So we knew Stanek, we knew Diaz, we knew Mayton, we knew he was just the new guy. Jose Buto had been with the Mets for a long time, was throwing really well. Reed Garrett was absolutely unhittable at the beginning of the year, striking out everybody. Like he kind of just like showed up and was throwing pretty good. But I saw a bunch of things he did that made him way better than people are giving him credit for. I think he's going to be a big part of their bullpen this year. He is making his debut, I believe, today in spring training, which gives him enough time to be ready for opening day. He might, 11 days. If he gets 4 or 5, if he gets 4 outings in, he should be okay. They might just roll with it, or he might just go and throw a couple games with AAA first. But he only threw 35 appearances, but he struck out 48 guys. He ran a .91 whip. He inherited 13 runners and let none of them score. Now, that's a big thing for me. If you come into games with 13 guys on base all year and you give 0, thank you, sir. That's a good teammate. He's rocking a reliever plus of a 113.8, which is well above average. And I think he should play a big fireman role for this team in this coming year. See him coming in the 6th with guys on base. See him splitting some of that stuff with Ryan Stanek again. Trying to get him to AJ Minter that can then get him to Sugar Diaz. So he's going to be a big part. I was really impressed watching his stuff. He's got good command, only walked 8, gave up 3 homers and under 200 batting average against. Look at that. 536 OPS plus. OPS, just OPS against. He doesn't walk people. He strikes guys out, and he's not very easy to hit. Those are all good things. All right. Next up, Brandon Pfaadt. Now, this is different, right? This one's you got to dig a little deeper because ERA doesn't tell the whole story here. And he gets overlooked a lot of times because, one, they're top 3, especially Corbin Burns. Now, Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, and Merrill Kelly. Those guys are going to be the guys we talk about all the time. Okay. Everyone else behind that, Eduardo Rodriguez, he could be in the mix there too because he's really consistent. But Brandon Pfaadt, he's kind of in the back end of that rotation. Remember, he pitched in the playoffs, pitched in the World Series in 2023. He's looked good. He's got a good arsenal, 6 pitches. And I just think he's underperformed what he could be, and he's just a couple little tweaks away from really being a quality starting pitcher. But one big green flag is he's always underperforming his FIP, meaning fielder independent pitching, which we broke down. And what the F was that a couple shows ago, a couple weeks ago. You can check out that full video on YouTube. It's up there if you want to know what FIP is. But basically, it tries to tell you in a vacuum if you had the basic, the basic defense, the average defense, how would you perform? And for some reason, defense seems to hurt him a little bit. That happens a lot when guys get strikeouts, but also give up homers, which he does. But he threw 181 innings. So of those same standards for the league, so of people who made 10 or more starts, obviously, he was ranked 16th. He was 16th in the league in innings last year in a rotation that eats innings. He ate them just alongside him. 180 innings for a guy like this is big. We talked a lot about how starting pitchers need to throw more innings and go deeper into games. Brandon Pfaadt is one of those guys who's doing that. So I think that is valuable. He doesn't walk guys. 5.5% walk rate puts him 11th in the league, tied in 11th with a bunch of guys with a lot of really good command. He has a 6-pitch arsenal that's pretty good. The problem is his breaking pitches aren't great. So his curveball and slider, they have negative red values every year. They're getting hit hard. He's a breaking ball away. Once he finds a good breaking ball, it's probably going to be a cutter would be my guess. That's usually the last resort for people. He's got a splitter and a changeup, throws them both, throws sinkers and four-seam fastballs. He just needs a breaking ball that can be an out pitch. But he strikes out one per inning also. All of those things are positive things. You know, he struck out 105 guys in 185 guys in 181 innings. Another positive sign. It's just about eliminating those big innings. And I think with a breaking ball, he can do that. So pay attention to Brandon Pfaadt. See if he adds a little wrinkle pitch, because I feel like designing breaking balls is the easiest thing to do in the major leagues these days. Number 4, Taylor Ward. Why is he underrated? Well, let me tell you. One, he's on the Angels. The biggest reason usually is because he's on the Angels. When you think Angels, at least a couple years ago, it was Shohei Ohtani and it was Mike Trout. He's 31 years old. He's been there for a while. But he's what we call a producer. Plays left field. Just upped his defense. Got his first year last year of above average run value on his defense. According to StatCast, he was in the top 74th percentile, which top quarter of the league. That's solid. He was always kind of average, sitting at about a 0. And he improved last year. That's a positive, especially at 30 years old. That's a big deal. He was a 2.3 WAR player for a bad team. I get it, but every year he's a 2+ WAR player. That is what you want. He's a career 110 OPS plus with a 111 last year. Went 25 and 75 home runs and RBIs. That is hitting 25 pumps. I think every team will take that. That was a career high. He actually had a career high in home runs, RBIs, and stolen bases with 6. Just had to throw that in there. And he played 156 games. Yes, he hit 246. The strikeout numbers may be a little bit high, but he actually had a lot of plate appearances. So it's not that bad. It's about league average. He walked a good number of times. 60 times isn't bad. And hit 25 home runs, 26 doubles. This is just like any team would be better with that guy. So he's a well above average player. He is a good, solid hitter. He's a guy you have to worry about in that lineup, especially with no Mike Trout. So if they get Trout back, he is healthy. Taylor Ward is a guy to pay attention to, and he is constantly producing. And then lastly, on my list, Tim Herrin, for a little bit of a different reason, okay? Now, he's just objectively disgusting, but he gets lost into the shuffle of a few other guys. You may have heard of Hunter Gaddis. You may have heard of Cade Smith, Emmanuel Clase. Those 3 guys kind of get talked about the most in that bullpen, in a bullpen that was the best in the major leagues by far last year. Tim Herrin was a big reason for that. Big lefty, throws high 90s, left-handed, and it's got a great slider and a great curveball. He just got lost in that bullpen. So let's just look at his stat line. First of all, he's a 116.8 reliever plus. He stranded 33 of his 43 inherited runners, which is good. You want to go, if you're below 25%, I think you're above average. It depends on when those were. You don't want to give up like a grand slam when you have the base loaded from other guys' runs. I've done that a couple times. It feels bad. But overall, stranding 33 guys, pretty solid. He throws 4 pitches as a reliever. They all had positive run values. They were all from 2 to 7. So that means your arsenal, all of it's pretty effective. But his curve and slider combo had a 37% whiff rate combined, and he punched tickets. But the biggest thing was lefties. He just absolutely dominates lefties. Lefties hit 143 against him with a 385 OPS. So pretty good. He had 16 holds. He pitched in 75 games through 72 innings. Now that's my big red flag. And this is my big red flag for literally everyone in the Guardians bullpen. 75 appearances is too many if you want your bullpen to be good for several years in a row. If everyone throws 75 times, you're going to see domino effect of injuries. They're just going to be like shoulder fatigue, elbow fatigue. I need to do PRP on my elbow because things are you're literally wearing out your parts. We have a saying in baseball. You only have so many bullets. You only have so many gas in the tank. You don't want to throw them all out. That's true. You wear down. There's moving parts. You're like an engine. And if your entire bullpen, which I think they had 5 guys for over 70 times, what's too many? That's too many. A full year should be between 65 and 70. 70 should be the maximum. And we saw them run out of gas a little bit at the end. We got Cade Smith, who usually throws 97, 98, throw 93, 94 on his last day because he's like, I don't have anything left because I pitch every day. Right? So that is one thing to pay attention with Tim Herrin. But kid's young. Look at him. Look how young he looks. Very young. He's nasty. And he's going to be a huge part of this bullpen. I think he's going to swap in and out with Cade Smith. I think those two, it's going to be lefty or righty, whoever it is in the middle there to get him. Tanner Gaddis at the back is going to be the way. So it's a good time to be a Guardians fan. That's for sure.